3 years out of boxing, especially after the loss to Terence Crawford, I think it gave him time to let his body relax. I wouldn't say that Crawford exposed flaws. I don't think it's gonna go the distance. I think Tim Tszyu need a rabbit foot, a horseshoe in the bottom of his boxing shoes.
Today we're at Greenville Boxing Club talking with Coach Shakir Robinson, who's been coaching since 2002. We asked him one question: can Errol Spence return to championship form?
My name is Shakir Robinson. I'm the director of Center for Education Equity Youth Development Program. I have been running this for 20 plus years. So I'm also a community activist, community organizer, and also a youth ambassador. I've been involved in youth boxing I started in 2000. So I started training my kids. Okay. So once I started training them, they had friends, and I started training them, and before you know it, we put together Greenville Boxing Club.
Now I want to talk to you about Errol Spence Jr.
Okay.
The comeback.
Right.
The big fish.
Big fish.
What was your first reaction when you heard Errol Spence was coming back against Tim Tszyu?
My first reaction was, it was very positive. Errol Spence, he was a big name in the boxing world. He was a highly athlete that was performing on a high level. I think after his car crash, when he had the car wreck, got thrown out the car, I think that kind of took something out on him a little bit, the body, trauma to the body injury. He fought back through that and, pretty much went back on a good run. Other than his defeat against Terence Crawford, he really was flawless.
Now, after almost 3 years out the ring, what's your biggest concern about Errol Spence in this fight?
This fight right here, I don't think I have no concerns. I think 3 years out of boxing, especially after the loss to Terence Crawford, I think it gave him time to let his body relax, because just that hard training, fights after fights, that take a toll on your body. So I think he has rejuvenated his body, his mind. He's getting older a little bit, but he's not at the age to where, he's lost his reflexes or nothing like that. So I think that will help him out, him coming back, I think that's great for boxing because it adds another great boxer back in the mix of who's gonna be the king of the ring.
All right, now let's go back to the Crawford fight.
Right.
What you think went wrong with Errol that night?
Man, that's funny because Errol Spence is one of my son's favorite fighters, and all he used to do is watch Errol Spence every day, walk around, try to emulate Errol Spence moves. He's a left-hander also. I used to tell him it's the bully fighting. Errol Spence just walk you down and just breaks you down, just run through you. Now, Terence Crawford was a different kind of fighter. Terence Crawford, like I was telling him, that fight not gonna go down like that. Now, trust me, I didn't have no crystal ball to where I could predict the fight, but I knew that you're not running up on Terence Crawford like you think you ran up on everybody else. And I think that was a major flaw in Errol Spence's strategy because I think he really put all his cards on. He was gonna do Terence Crawford exactly how he was doing all the other fighters, and it blowed up in his face.
Now, did Crawford expose flaws in Spence's game, or was Crawford just simply great that night?
I wouldn't say that Crawford exposed flaws because Crawford is a great champion. He's a switch hitter. That means he could fight right hand or left hand. So he just had more tools in the bag. And then when he really figured out early in the fight that Errol Spence's power was not over obliterating him then I think that just twisted everything.
Do you think Crawford power surprised Spence?
Yeah, I think it surprised him, as the fight was going on, because you really could look at the look on his face, it was really like he ain't never, like you looking at a fighter that, like I say, imposed his will on almost everybody he fought, and now you're in a fight and it's the opposite, you getting dropped, you getting touched, and the only thing that's really holding you up is your pride, your self-faith. That's hoping that you can push it through, but you keep running to that wall, you're gonna fall.
Now, Spence just had a major interview with Andre Ward.
Right.
And he talked about having some health issues before the fight.
Before the fight with Terence Crawford?
Yep, he talked about taking a cortisone shot in his ribs.
Okay.
Because his ribs was hurting.
Right.
He also talked about camp not going his way, not going as it should. He talked about not sparring southpaw the whole camp, not being prepared for some of the things that Crawford was bringing to the table, and just overall not a great camp, not feeling like his best, which he placed a lot of that blame on Derrick James.
Talking about his trainer.
Yeah, and one of the main reasons he end up firing him.
Right. Now, that's how it's gonna go. Football team lose big game, coach get fired. So by you being the coach, that's just what comes down the line when losing. At the end of the day, they're not really gonna point the finger at the players or the team. They gonna, hey, the coach is in charge, so he got to take the hit. Understand that. Once again, we got to go back and say, the Terence Crawford fight, Terence Crawford is a different fighter. So game planning for a Terence Crawford, you don't know if he gonna switch, when he gonna switch, what he's gonna do. Cause I'm a boxing coach, and I done went to regional tournaments or national tournaments, and you up against a certain fighter, you have to come up with a fight plan, whether it work or not. They really thought that he was a bigger man and he was gonna be able to overwhelm Terence Crawford, and it just didn't go down like that. I just remember, that one time that Errol Spence was, calling T. Crawford out, and then Crawford was letting him know he was telling Errol Spence that you gotta come down and make weight, and he was telling Errol Spence, I'm already right here. And he was just ready, he was faced off. Spence was a little bit taller than Terence Crawford, but Crawford really was looking at him, being a shorter man, but looking at you eye to eye like, I'm right here. And it's not gonna go down like that. And I just really think that, Errol Spence should have took heed. I think he should have took heed, but sometime until something happened to you, some fighters really feel like they that invincible until they meet another fighter. They be able to beat 30 people in a row, but it might be just that one fighter that you can't get around, so that was that Terence Crawford.
Do you think Errol Spence stayed at 147 too long?
I wouldn't say that he stayed at 147 too long, because most of the time you're gonna stay at a weight that you dominate in until you can't make that weight easy.
Do you think 154 is going to be an advantage for him, or it's a good stage in his career?
With Errol Spence, I think 154 will be a comfortable weight for him. He's not Errol Spence is a lean man, solid. I think he'll be good at the 154.
Now he's got a new coach now.
Right.
Ronnie Shields.
Right.
Do you think he's going to make any changes in Errol Spence?
I think, Ronnie Shields a good coach. Every coach got their own style. Most coaches don't copy the next coach's style, but I think that he'll be all right up under Ronnie Shields. It's gonna be different as he move on past this fight. I think he's gonna win this fight easy, but the next fights that they match up on down the line, it's gonna be interesting to see how that go down.
Now, do you think there'll be any ring rust after 3-year layoff? Errol said there's no such thing as ring rust. He doesn't need a tune-up fight.
Definitely. Definitely, because one thing about boxing is timing, it's reflexes, and if you haven't been doing something, for 3 years, just like Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan retired, he went and played baseball, and then he was like, hey, I want to come back. He might have dropped 55 on the Knicks. Some other games, his legs might not have been with him. He really had in the off season, he took an L in the playoffs. But one thing I can say, in that off season, Mike trained so hard that he brought himself back even stronger than what he was.
What do you think Tim Tszyu does best as a fighter?
He fight at a moderate pace. He's a tough fighter. He has fought some good contenders, and he done won a lot of fights, but I don't see him beating Errol Spence. So he is not like on a grand champion level. Tim Tszyu has never been in that caliber right there. So I would still I give him his credit for, his experience, his fights. I don't think that he's on that level right there.
And he spoke about his game plan. He wasn't going to change anything. He was going to come forward and see what Errol Spence was going to bring to the table. How do you think that might work out?
It sounds good. It's going to present a good fight from the beginning. Not saying that, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Tim Tszyu don't have a chance, because anybody that's in the boxing ring has a fighting chance. You can land a haymaker on somebody and get them in trouble, a liver shot, get them in trouble. It's a lot of things, scenarios that can happen in the boxing fight, but I don't see it. I don't see Tim Tszyu walking. I don't see him walking the big fish down. I see Tim Tszyu walking him down, making the rounds look like it's a fight, but taking supreme damage. And I don't think it's gonna go the distance.
What must Errol Spence do to win this fight?
I think Errol Spence just be himself. Don't go in there and try to overdo it and bomb out, and exhaust yourself that you don't have the energy to finish. I just think it's gonna be a good tune-up fight. It's gonna just give him an opportunity to showcase himself that he's still Errol Spence.
What must Tim Tszyu do to win the fight?
I think Tim Tszyu need a rabbit foot, a horseshoe in the bottom of his boxing shoes. I think just come out to fight and hope that some of them big punches land and get them in trouble, and hope that you get lucky and have a great upset. We seen it with Antonio Tarver and Roy Jones. We seen it with Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson. And throughout the boxing years, we done seen fights that, you thought it was gonna be an easy fight, and at the end of the fight, boy, they got beat tonight. So, just go out there and believe in yourself and do the best, and I hope you get lucky, But I just see Errol Spence just having a good night and positioning himself back in the boxing world as being a threatful fighter.
Can Errol Spence become a world champion again?
I think that he will be a champion again, but I know that if Errol Spence have a good run, say that Errol Spence beat Tszyu, and then he become a champion again, and he might win 3-4 more big fights, then everybody already know what's gonna be the next call out. They're gonna be like rematching Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, and I think that's when the rubber hit the road. I think if they fight again, it'll go down the same way.
If Spence loses this fight, what would that mean for his legacy?
If Spence loses this fight, then that would really put another scratch on his record that would take him out of the limelight as being one of the great champions. Spence really can reclaim his glory, or you know how they say, you could go from an A to a B to a C. You know what I'm saying? So it's up to his performance and what he does in the ring.